The oldest traces of human occupation in Paris date from about 800 BC, during the Mesolithic period. Between 250 and 225 BC, the Parisii settled on the banks of the Seine, built bridges and a fort, minted coins, and began to trade with other river settlements in Europe. In 52 BC, a Roman army led by Titus Labienus defeated the Parisii and established a Gallo-Roman garrison town called Lutetia. The town was Christianized in the 3rd century AD, and after the collapse of the Roman Empire, it was occupied by Clovis I, the king of the Franks, who made it his capital in 508. During the Middle Ages, Paris was the largest city in Europe, an important religious and commercial center, and the birthplace of the Gothic style of architecture. The University of Paris on the left bank, organized in the mid-13th century, was one of the first in Europe. It suffered from the bubonic plague in the 14th century and the Hundred Years' War in the 15th century, with recurrence of the plague. Between 1418 and 1436, the city was occupied by the Burgundians and English. In the 16th century, Paris became the book publishing capital of Europe, though it was shaken by the French wars of religion between Catholics and Protestants. In the 18th century, Paris was the center of the intellectual ferment known as the Enlightenment, and the main stage of the French Revolution from 1789. In the 19th century, Napoleon embellished the city with monuments to military glory. It became the European capital of fashion and the scene of two more revolutions. In 1830 and 1848, the center of Paris was rebuilt between 1852 and 1870 with wide new avenues, squares, and new parks, and the city was expanded to its present limits in 1860. In the latter part of the century, millions of tourists came to see the Paris International Expositions and the new Eiffel Tower. In the 20th century, Paris suffered bombardment in World War I and German occupation from 1940 until 1944. In World War II, between the two wars, Paris was the capital of modern art and a magnet for intellectuals, writers, and artists from around the world. The population reached its historic high of 2.1 million in 1921, but declined for the rest of the century. New museums, the Centre Pompidou, Musée Marmottan Monet, and Musée d'Orsay, were opened, and the Louvre given its glass pyramid. In the 21st century, Paris added new museums and a new concert hall. But in 2005, it also experienced violent unrest in the housing projects in the surrounding banlieues, suburbs, inhabited largely by immigrants from France's former colonies in the Maghreb and sub-Saharan Africa. The population of the city declined steadily from 1921 until 2004 due to a decrease in family size and an exodus of the middle class to the suburbs. But it is increasing slowly once again as young people and immigrants move into the city. In the first part of the 21st century, the vitality of the Paris economy made it an important financial center and influential global city. The Paris region, including the business center of La Défense just outside the city limits, had a 2012 GDP of 612 billion euros, 760 billion US dollars. In 2011, its GDP ranked second among the regions of Europe, and its per capita GDP was the fourth highest in Europe. In 2013, it hosted the world headquarters of 29 Fortune Global 500 companies, mostly in banking, finance, insurance, and business services. Tourism was an important part of the Paris economy. In 2013, the city of Paris welcomed 29.3 million tourists, the largest number of whom came from the United States, followed by the United Kingdom, Italy, Germany, and Spain. There were 550,000 visitors from Japan, a decrease from previous years, while there was a growth of 20% in the number of visitors from China, 186,000, and the Middle East, 326,000. The Paris region received 32.3 million visitors in 2013 a destination for upscale European shopping. Paris was especially important. In 2014, visitors to Paris spent $17 billion, 13.58 billion euros, the third highest sum globally after London and New York. Fashion and luxury goods also made an important contribution to the Paris economy. In 2014, Paris was the home of the world's largest cosmetics company, L'Oréal, and three of the five top global makers of luxury fashion accessories, Louis Vuitton, Hermès, and Cartier. According to one study produced in 2009, Paris was the third most economically powerful city in the world among the 35 major cities in the study, ranking behind London and New York. The study ranked Paris first in terms of quality of life and accessibility, third in cultural life, sixth in terms of economy, and seventh in research and development. 211. Another study in 2012 grouped Paris with New York, London, and Tokyo as the four leading global cities. This study concluded that Paris ranked as the third global city for accountancy and management consultancy, network connectivity, and airline connections, and was fifth in terms of insurance. 212. Politics. Edit. In March 2001, Bertrand Delano became the first socialist mayor of Paris and the first openly gay mayor of the city. 213. The socialists and their allies dominated city politics for the next 13 years. Delano was re-elected in 2008. 214. And on April 5, 2014, and Hidalgo, another socialist, was elected first female mayor of Paris. 215. In 2020, Paris mayor and Hidalgo was re-elected. 216. The two mayors made social issues and the environment a priority. In 2007, in an effort to reduce car traffic in the city, Mayor Delano introduced the Velop, a system that rents bicycles at low cost for the use of local residents and visitors. To discourage automobile traffic, the city administration increased parking fees and added new restrictions on driving in the city. Between 2008 and 2013, the city converted a section of the highway along the Seine between the Pont de l'Alma and the Musée d'Orsay into a public park called the Promenade de Berges de la Seine. By early 2021, a number of Hidalgo's policies had gained international attention, such as her proposal to remove over half of Paris's car parking spaces and turn the Champs-Élysées into a fantastic garden. 217, 218, 219. In 2026, Emmanuel Gregoire was elected mayor, continuing the socialist grip on power. Culture. Edit. In 2013, the Louvre was the most visited art museum in the world, and the Centre Georges Pompidou was the most visited museum of modern art. 220. A new national museum, the Musée du Quai Branly, opened in 2006. It was the presidential grand project of Jacques Chirac, designed by architect Jean Nouvel to showcase the indigenous art of Africa, Oceania, Asia, and the Americas. 221. A new private museum, the Contemporary Art Museum of the Louis Vuitton Foundation, designed by architect Frank Gehry, opened in October 2014 in the Bois de Boulogne. 222. On 14. January 2015, President Hollande inaugurated a new symphony hall, the Philharmonie de Paris, also designed by architect Jean Nouvel. The hall opened with a performance by the Orchestre de Paris of the Requiem of Gabriel. 4. Played to honor the victims of the Charlie Hebdo shooting that took place in the city a week earlier. It is located in the Parc de